Welcome back to the PFC podcast. The views and opinions you are about to hear are the speakers and do not necessarily reflect those of anyone else. Now on to the podcast.
Welcome back to the PFC podcast. This is Dennis, and today I'm with Justin. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing super good.
Awesome.
Obviously, you and I are longtime friends, but it's been definitely a hot minute since you've been on the podcast. So would you mind doing just a real quick introduction of yourself?
Yeah. So I'm Justin. I was a special operations medic for about 14 years and recently transitioned to medical school, and I'm a second-year medical student.
Nice. So the reason why I asked you on, not because you're a medical student and you have all the answers, it's because of your nonprofit SOFTSOM. And I'd really just like to get into it and like, what is it? You know, how can it help our guys wanting to transition?
Yeah. So Special Operations Forces to School of Medicine, or SOFTSOM for short, is a North Carolina-based 501c3 nonprofit with the mission of helping Special Operations Forces service members and veterans in their journey to become physicians. Just the official slogan, right? So we're there to help those from our community, not just medics, but SOF as a whole, get accepted to medical school, which is the hard part, right? Like getting in is the hardest part, and a lot of variability. And so we're there to help with that process.
Nice. Perfect. So this is, obviously, up till now, I don't know of any group that's helped SOF specific, whether medics or non-medics, get into medical school. And usually we kind of just cut ties and take care of number one. Why on earth would you guys get together and actually help somebody else?
Yeah, so you're spot on, right? You gotta look out for number one. But no, so plenty of people from this community have gone on to different education programs, right? Medical school, PA, nursing, dentistry, veterinary, outside of medicine as a whole, right? And they did it because people in SOF are trained problem solvers. And so they're like vanilla ice, right? They see this as a problem, so they're going to solve it. And they do that by scouring the internet, scouring Reddit, scouring something like Student Doctor Network, which is just pre-med Reddit, which if you ever need to feel like you don't know stress in your life, like you should definitely dig through the old SDN forums and you'll see real stress going on in real time. But people were just like solving it on their own, right? So I had applied to medical school the first time in 2017. I did get accepted, but I elected not to go because I had some life stuff going on at that time, and it just was not a good time to start. And then when I decided, okay, now is the time, back in, that would have been 2021, end of 2021. I was like, okay, I've done this before. I know this process. Like I know what timeline I need to do things, what I need to do to be successful, and some things I needed to improve on because I got a lot of rejections the first time too. I was not the only one going through that process from this community. I had a couple other friends from the community who were also looking to go to medical school, and we were on the same timeline. And one of the guys said, let's just start a group chat so we can all bounce ideas off each other. And that's what we did. So we started a group chat, and initially it was just a couple guys who were all on the same like timeline, just like, hey man, can you guys check my stuff? Hey, can you do this? Hey, I don't get this topic on my MCAT prep. Like, can someone help? And somehow word of this group chat got out because there's I guess a bunch of loose lips, sinking soft ships or something. I don't know, sinking group chat ships at least. And so people wanted to get added to the group chat, and added to the group chat, and added to the group chat. And then it was like, hey, we've got a couple more guys who are applying this cycle, so this is helpful. But we've also got people who are applying next cycle, and they're just like learning from this process. And then naturally, we submitted our applications. We worked on our secondaries. We started our interviews as the guys behind us were getting ready to start the process. And just in like a very similar to like SOF mentality, we created AARs of our experiences, things we did well, things we did not do well, things we wish we had done. And just made a Google Drive and gave, access to our like AAR platform to the guys behind us. Well, the group chat started like expanding because more people kept talking about it. More people wanted to be involved. And then next thing you know, it's turning into this like kind of formal mentorship thing. And our president and our co-founder, Ricky, he was like, how can we, if we have this thing right now, how can we do the most good for people? And we talked about it. We talked with a bunch of people, and it seems like a lot of the like SOF specific education nonprofits have either gone away or kind of transitioned to other things. And so we thought, I think that if we fill this space where there's just kind of a vacuum naturally pulling us towards that, we could do the most good. And so we filed, we became a nonprofit, and then becoming an organization officially, it comes with its own growing pains. And we formalized what we were kind of already doing and tried to make it better. And so I can get into the details of like each of those things if you would like. So before, like I said, it was just a Google Drive and like an AAR platform. And those documents are still accessible to the scholars, the people who are selected, and I'll get to that. But now we're assigning a mentor. So if you're a scholar going through the program, you are a mentee or a scholar. You are assigned a mentor as you go through the process. That person is someone who is 1 year ahead of you, who just did it. So they know all the quirks, they know all the changes, because things change all the time. Particularly with like requirements for certain schools. And then as they're going through their glide year, right, the same scholar who's been receiving the mentorship, which is that time between submitting your applications, doing interviews, getting acceptance, and starting the following year, they are now the mentor for the class behind them and working them through. And these are not people that we're just throwing out alone, like, well, you did it, so good luck. Right? There's a director of mentorship who's checking in to ensure everything's straight. They have access to their cohort group chat. They're all bouncing ideas off each other. And then we're using our network and our connections to link these people up as best we can with their target programs or their target specialties as they move forward. And then that's it. Then once they get into med school and they've done their mentorship, that they have fulfilled their requirement. If they want to be involved more than that, then we can find a position. But that's the requirement. We have a scholarship wing, which at this time is helping with some financial aid for MCAT prep. MCAT prep is expensive, really. I mean, everything related to medicine, studying and testing is expensive because they know they can make the money on the backside. They know people have to invest it. So, on the order of thousands of dollars to get reliable MCAT prep, it can put a strain on a family. So we're trying to help with that as much as we can. Obviously, the more money as a nonprofit we get, the more we can do. We have a research wing. There's surprisingly little data about even veterans in medicine, much less SOF, right? So the only data that we found published came from the AAMC, the American Association of Medical Colleges, right? And so the only data that's been published was in 2022, and I'm reading this because I don't want to mess up the numbers. So there were 55,188 applicants to the AMCAS, which is the Centralized Admissions Service, American Medical Colleges Application Service for MD schools everywhere outside of Texas. So there are 55,188 AMCAS applicants. Of those, only 375 were veterans and 164 were active duty military, which combined is 0.01% of all applicants. Meanwhile, 7 to 8% of the U.S. population is characterized as a veteran according to the 2020 census. So we're not even close to meeting our population limit, but that's just military as a whole. SOF, by the nature of the beast, is so much smaller than that. And we think we're force multipliers, right? We bring a lot to the table that can kind of expand. So we're trying to gather data on our scholars and how they perform, what their GPAs look like, average age, all kind. I mean, our director of research is doing an incredible job, and we want to publish on it so that schools can see that while, some of the data that they're seeing compared to their normal applicants might look a little different, right? That we can say, hey, by the way, our scholars, X amount go on to be presidents or leaders in their class, and X amount go on to these competitive residencies, and X amount go on to become, whatever, because med schools love data, right? Love it. And then in order to ensure that we're doing all the right things here, we have a selection process to bring on our scholars.
Okay. So push-ups, pull-ups, like
Yeah. Show up with your 2 quart and your ruck, and you'll be good.
Yeah,
Big
good,
time.
Good.
Big time. Yeah. You got to be in shape if you want to be a doctor. Everyone knows that. No, so I'm not going to go to like super specifics, right? But we developed a selection process with a operational psychologist who worked at an SMU. And then before that, he actually was involved in hiring astronauts at NASA. And so we've developed the selection process to select from verified SOF members to assess for the traits that we believe would make them successful SOFTSOM scholars, successful medical students, and then successful physicians for our long-term goals. There's an online application. It opens up at the beginning of July each year, closes at the end of July. There is an interview process. We are still conducting like this, I guess, next year's cohort right now. And so, they'll be being notified within the next week or two. And then, as far as like the specifics beyond that, we're trying to keep it pretty close held, including even who's on the selection committee. Like we're not even talking about that. So it's a surprise for everybody. Right? And then we've objectified the scoring for this so that we can really, again, look at the data and see what works, what doesn't, and keep tweaking and making it an ever improved process. And so starts with an online application and letters of rec, less than COERs or equivalent. And then there's an interview process, and then, beyond that. And the reason that we're doing a formal selection is just like in SOF, we think people are our most important asset. And if we don't have the right people, then it doesn't matter how much work we're putting in anything else. It's not going to work. It's not going to be successful. But we also owe it to some of our partners, and I can use that as a segue whenever you're ready. But we're partnering with different universities to try to increase SOF representation in medical school classes. And there are universities out there who agree with us that they love having SOF service members in their medical school classes. But guys fall through the cracks for a myriad of reasons. And so if we're putting in the effort to, to screen these people for not only their ability to be really good at push-ups and rucking, but also be a good medical student, a good physician, we're doing the hard part for them. And then if we're getting, mentoring them to get the MCAT scores they need, helping them write their applications, getting them research, that's another job of our research division. Then we're handing these medical schools an applicant that's a polished, perfect product that they want. And so, we want to ensure that we're able to do that. We have that responsibility to those programs to not pull the pin on a hand grenade and toss it their direction. Right. And so, and these are really cool programs that we have these memorandums of agreement with. And so we're really protecting that, and they're happy with what we have. And we just want to give them, the best product that we can.
Perfect. So, correct me if I'm wrong. I would imagine one of the more difficult parts for whether it be a SOF or just a veteran person wanting to go to medical school or PA school or wherever, that application process, and part of that is describing your experience and how it relates to whatever field you're trying to get into. Yep. And we have a very unique culture and things that we think are important and kind of define whether you did a good job or not. And so I could imagine there's more than one story about being on a hilltop knee deep in hand grenade pins and 240 shells. And, do you guys help tailor stupid stories like that into actual acceptable applications?
So we do, and there's kind of two-pronged approach to this. One, we work with the scholars and tell them that while that story about being knee-deep in hand grenade pins and 240 shells is awesome at the bar, no one in a medical school admissions committee is going to hear it, right? It's the equivalent of saying, there I was knee-deep in, panties and fireball shooters at the strip club, right? Like it's probably not going to get you very far in getting accepted to medical school. Yeah. Great story.
You didn't have to bring up my story, but that's okay.
It happens to the best of us. But yeah, right. So yes, we do. So there's two prongs. One, we sit down and talk with our people. There are 15 work and activities essays on the primary application, plus your personal statement, which is, why do you want to be a doctor? We do know that you have to write more work and activities, like try to fill out all 15, because that's how a medical school is going to get to know you from the one out of other, anywhere from 7 to 15,000 applications that they're going to see, depending on the program. And, those work and activities are there. Now, in SOF, most of us were taught, maybe not the new generation, I don't know, the TikTok generation or whatever, but like those of us who fought the war, we were taught to be quiet professionals, right? And so writing about all the cool things you did is already difficult in and of itself. And so people want to undersell their experiences. And then when we finally get to pull those things out, like you said, we have a very unique culture. And so getting the raw story from the scholars, we're able to extract what a medical school wants to see from that and tailor the essays to make more sense for the environment in which they're trying to write and trying to enter. The personal statement is a very difficult thing to write. Why do you want to be a doctor? Maybe you do want to be a doctor because you were knee deep in 240 shells and hand grenade pins, and your buddies were hurt and screaming, and you were able to help only minimally, and you knew they had to go to an actual doctor, and it was an actual doctor who saved the life of your best friend, and you realized that was the day that you wanted to do it. That's a very powerful story when told correctly, but that's not everybody's story, right? Some people were in SOF and, maybe they had their own illness or injury and they were, recovered, maybe their wife or their child or their parent or their grandparent or, maybe just any number of things. And so we worked to, again, bring out the reality of why they want to be a physician and put it on paper. The other thing that we do is we talk to the schools. So we reach out to as many programs as will talk to us. We talk to members of their admissions committees, their deans of admission, and try to figure out like what we're doing well and what we're not. And one of the deans of admissions for a large institution recently told me that he feels like he reads the same essay every year, like at least 10 to 15 times. Everybody was on the same hill with the hand grenades and 240. Everyone was there. Every applicant was on that same hill, right? And it makes it very hard to go to bat for these people with the rest of the committee when they're all reading the same essays. And so we've never had anyone question whether or not, a Navy SEAL's good at push-ups and hair gel, or, if like a Green Beret is, brave, or, a Ranger is young and angry. Right? Like we never had anybody question those things. But we have to help translate from our scholars' essay perspective, as well as help the schools understand that bravery and grit and earning whatever funny colored hat or enormously sized badge that you wear, the traits that they're looking for in a medical student to become a physician are the same traits that made them successful in their career, like resilience, adaptability, problem solving. And so we're just shifting the narrative to understand that you already have the product you're looking for, someone who's proven they can do it. They've already proven it. We just need to work that language. So that's a long answer to a short question, but yes, we're doing it from both directions.
Yeah. Do you think that's one of the more common problems, or are there other areas that we're screwing up?
That's one of the more common ones. People underselling what they did. People not realizing that the things that they did do have value, or people thinking that a medical school cares that you are a whatever, again, what funny colored hat or giant badge you wore, and that's why they want you. Those are some of the more common things. The other issue we run into a lot is there's a reason most of us joined the military, particularly people who joined young. They probably didn't do well in college, or maybe just didn't enjoy the academic environment at that time for a myriad of reasons. I was one of them. I rocked a solid like 2.01 or something overall GPA my first year of college. And so, that nukes your GPA, and medical schools are looking at GPAs. And so we can provide mentorship, and then we have a couple post-bac programs that we can put people that we have like partnerships with that can help people boost their GPA and also, then get into medical school. Really educating people that the MCAT's important. And I say that, and all the physicians listening to the podcast are going to laugh. Like, yeah, obviously it's important. It's literally the only test to delineate you from anybody else. And it's standardized. So it is what it is. But there is a thought across SOF, and I will admit I was one of them when I applied to med school the first time, that if you just break the 50th percentile, then you'll get into medical school, which is true in some instances. In many instances, it is true. But you're hamstringing where you're going to get in and who's going to read your application, and you're really rolling the dice and relying a lot on luck. But if you do well on the test, you stack the odds in your favor. More people are going to read your application and see those stories that you tell and be more interested to bring you in for an interview. We generally do pretty well with interviews. We do have some interview coaching. We will run people through practice interviews. Some people do it like a military board, right? Like hands on knees, very just, whatever. My hands were on my knees. You can't tell because the screen is a little forward.
Like an interrogation? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They sear school it a little too much, right? Which no one in academia wants.
Nor do they understand.
Nor do they understand. Yeah, they're just like, this guy's weird, man. And like, we interview a lot of weird people. Like, this guy is exceptionally weird.
He's sweating so much. Right?
Yeah, why is the vein bulging out of his like nose? I didn't even know there were veins there. I'm a doctor. Yeah, so we work with people on how to integrate with the different environment. Academia is a different environment. You know that.
He keeps eating all the crackers. Like,
this is a virtual interview, and he keeps asking me for more food. I'm a little confused. He's taking 7 minutes to answer each question and just staring at me intently. LTPR. So yes, there's a lot of mentorship that goes into it, but the essays, you're right. That's one of our struggle points for sure. That just naturally.
Yeah. I would be horrible at it. I did good. Like, but how do people even like reach out? Do you have a website? Do you just have to know a guy? Is there a drop site? Like,
yeah, so there's a drop site. We'll talk later. Just kidding. We no,
Smart
so
with
it
chalk.
is 100%. Yeah. It's traced around a body. There's no body. The body's long since been removed, but the chalk is still there. No, so there's a website. It's SOFTSOM.org. So that's SOFTOSOM.org. Not the number, the word. I don't actually know. Maybe the number works. I'll look it up later, but it's the word. And that's going to take you to the website. You'll see the homepage. There's a contact us in the bottom right corner. I'm looking at it. It's like a little message box with 3 dots. You could do that. And that's going to be a pretty good, easy way to do it. There's also a newsletter. It doesn't go out super often, but it does go out, and you can sign up with your email there to see, any more that we've pushed out. There's an Instagram. The Instagram is pretty good about dropping, when the selection dates are going to start and close, and partnerships and, things that our scholars are doing. I don't have Instagram personal, so I don't really know how to use Instagram, but our marketing people are on it. They got it figured out. So you could always slide into the DMs or whatever the kids are saying these days. Yeah, that's the easiest way to reach out and get in touch, and stay abreast of like what's coming when, right? We are working on some different opportunities for even people that aren't our scholars, people who are just interested to meet with medical schools, and for medical schools to meet the people from the community and see. So we're working on those opportunities, and that'll be released on Instagram and on the website.
Okay. And usually you start this like the year prior to application?
You do.
Or?
Yeah, correct. Thank you. So if you're going to apply as a scholar, we want to get you 1 year before you apply, which will be 1 year before you matriculate. So, for example, the people applying this year to be our scholars, so the people we are interviewing, will be submitting their centralized application. I'm looking at the calendar in June of 2025 to matriculate medical school in July of 2026. So we're trying to get people for their application cycle because we are a relatively new nonprofit. This is our second year as an official nonprofit. As we get into a rhythm, we'd like to be able to get people 2 years from applying so they could see one, do one, teach one instead of just do one, teach one. But we have not been able to do that yet because we're trying to get everyone caught up and get on pace, on tempo with where we need to be. And so that's in the next couple of years vision to be able to do that.
Okay. And that kind of goes into my next question is like, what areas, I guess, are you trying to push into? Like, you're trying to just get more applicants? Are you trying to, reach into more schools? Like, what directions are you trying to push into?
So a little bit of everything. Yeah. Okay. So a little bit of all of it. Right now, because the staff are all unpaid volunteers, that most of them are medical students or somewhere in medicine, along the way. Right? Like they don't have a ton of time. And, our selection, we don't have a minimum or a maximum. We take the right amount. So we'll take 0 if we have a bad class, or if we have, more awesome people, then we'll take as many as we can possibly take who meet the benchmark requirements that we've set, and bring them on and work to mentor them. We don't even know how many SOF people are applying to medical school. And so some of this is just a learning process. So we're just trying to get the info out and see so everyone can apply and we can get the best candidates moving forward. Even the people that we don't take as scholars, every time they interact with the organization, there is mentorship and guidance to help them. So we're not just like, good luck, bruh, right? Like we're still providing plenty of mentorship, guidance, and assistance to them. They just won't have access to everything that the scholars will have access to, like the partnerships with the universities. We are also reaching out to universities to try to arrange partnerships. So the biggest one that if you look at our website, you'll see is Hofstra. They were our first partner. So there is a official memorandum of agreement between the two. And in that agreement, there are certain benchmarks that our scholars have to make. But if they make those benchmarks, their application is going to get viewed. They're going to get an interview. And then it's on them at that point, right? They're not going to fall through the crack. There are plenty of other universities. Not all of their legal teams have finished the details yet for the press releases. So only because I don't know which ones have and have not done that, I'm just going to leave it there. But we do have other institutions we are officially partnered with that press releases should be coming out soon that are similar programs. And the more contacts that we have, even if we don't have official MOUs, but people are aware of our program and what we're bringing to the table. And when someone lists SOFTSOM Scholar on their work and activities and how they're providing mentorship and guidance to the people behind them, we're hoping that more universities will see that and recognize what that means and at least give that application a second look, even if maybe that GPA isn't what they're used to seeing from traditional applicants.
Okay. If there's another school of medicine, another university, what have you, how do they reach out to you? Same way?
Same way. Yep. Same way. We do have a director of partnership, and that right now is Brenton. And I'm trying to see if his website his email comes right up on the website. So I'm trying to pull it. Give me 1 second, please. If you go to our website and go to click on About and go to our staff, it has the board and then it has the staff. So it shows Brenton here, Director of Partnerships, and email at info@softsom.org. We'll get to him. So if you hit info@softsom.org, then universities can reach out to him, set up a time to talk, and then they will get a board representative and a staff representative. And they will work to develop what the relationship looks like.
Nice. So maybe other than schools of medicine, just sponsors that like we have nothing to do with medical school, but we like what you guys are doing, and we'd like to help with your nonprofit and get a nice tax write-off. Do they reach out? Same website, info at SOFTSOM?
So that's the easiest. That's going to be the easiest way, yeah, because that's going to go through to multiple people, and he will see it. Brenton will see it, but multiple people get that email. They're going to be talking more to Derek Feixen, who is our outreach director, and they're going to handle that piece. But it's the same email he also gets from that one. And we do have other people that we're partnered with. So like Figs Scrubs. We recently partnered with Figs Scrubs to, work to support our scholars as they, scrubs are expensive, believe it or not. I didn't know that until I tried to buy scrubs. They got expensive in the last 15 years. They're also tailored a lot, and they look a lot nicer. They really
like skinny scrubs.
Yeah, they look good though. If you're not super skinny, they look real good, right? You can look jacked real fast. And so we have a partnership with Figs, and they donate scrubs to our scholars, and different companies want that tax write-off, right? So they can donate. As far as individuals who want to donate and want a tax write-off, there is a donation form on the website. You can choose that amount. We do have regular fundraisers. Shirts have been one of them that have done well in the past, and those links are dropped on Instagram. The most often it's the easiest way to see it. So following us on the gram is a good way to do it. And so, and those are kind of the easiest ways. And we also do reach out to other companies who are trying to build that connection and network as well. So obviously the more money we get, the more we can put back into the scholars. No one here is getting paid anything. This is all volunteer. And, we really want to be able to donate, more to our scholars. One thing we'd love to be able to do for everyone, just for an example to anyone listening, is the professional interview station. The difference between you and I right now is obvious. You've got really nice headphones and a whole speaker. I could see it, right? I'm on, just normal Bose headphones and my laptop. I don't have a whole interview station. Look at this logo
back here. That's
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's a real thing. And, interviewing for medical school, it's all virtual now. Maybe it goes back to in person one day, but I doubt it. And so there is a deep, little, thing in your mind that if you see someone interviewing with a ring light and a professional camera and a microphone and they sound good, right? That person's probably going to get a little bit more attention paid than someone like me who is interviewing on a ping pong table while deployed in a dark room. It just is what it is, the reality. So we'd love to be able to get that for everybody. It's expensive. You have it in front of you. You're totally aware. So it's just one example of things that, the more we get, we have ideas and visions of how we're going to use that money. And if any company is interested in hearing that, hit us up. We are ready to drop it down to the dollar, what our requests are and what that will buy our scholars and what that will do for American healthcare. Because you're really trying to shape American healthcare, not just soft transitions.
Yep, absolutely. Also, speaking of fundraisers, SOFTSOM and PFC, we're going to have a shirt done by No Suri. So that's going to, I think that's next month, October. So that's going to be pretty cool. I have no idea what the logo is, but I'm pretty sure there'll be a dagger and some arrows in it.
It's definitely going to, like you said, have some bones or something.
Yeah. There'll be a snake somewhere.
There's always a snake.
Yeah.
Always a snake. It's going to be wrapped around something. It's as much of a mystery to you as it is to me.
It's clearly going to be badass.
It's going to be rad. Yeah. I don't know what it is yet, but it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Is there anything that you just would like to get out, whether that be to the schools or to the applicants coming in, any kind of info that we didn't cover?
No, I think we covered most of the stuff for the nonprofit. The only thing I will kind of throw out here for people in the community who are deciding kind of what the next chapter of their life is going to be, wherever they are, whether they're coming up on retirement or they're at the end of like their, second enlistment and deciding, do I want to stay to retirement or get out and do something else? There are a lot of different routes you can go. Everyone knows you can be successful. A lot of people, I think, write off medical school because they think it's either too long or too expensive. Yes, it's long. Yes, it's expensive. I don't know of any of our scholars that are paying to go to school. There are ways to get it paid for, and it's long, but if that's really what you want to do, it can be done. And, reach out, even if you're a couple of years out. We get emails from people all the time like, hey, I'm, still on a team, but I think in the future I want to go to medical school. Like, what do I need to be doing now? And we'll, that's free. That info's free. We love to give it to people if that's what you want to do. So definitely keep it on your radar. Don't write it off because you think it's too long or too expensive. Like, there are a myriad of ways to get school paid for and to still support your family while doing it. And you can do it. You can do it.
Yeah. So, you just got done with your first year, right?
Yeah. So I'm in my second year. Mm-hmm.
Nice. Are you happy?
It's quite the transition. It is quite the transition. Am I happy that I'm home every night? Very much so. Right. My wife and I welcomed our first child in the world, our second week of medical school. And so the fact that I could be here, for our daughter is ultimately the most important. Does medical school have its own set of frustrations? Absolutely. But I think that anywhere you go is going to have its own set of frustrations. And so it's just transitioning from this community is tough. And it's lonely. It is lonely for a lot of people, right? Like, I'm the only veteran in my class. Thankfully, I have a couple other members in the class ahead and, behind me. But it's a lonely process. And that's another thing that, again, why we made SOFTSOM. There's a team room chat and it's always active. And people have that shared experience in SOF. Now they have that shared experience in medical school. And, there's a lot of really strong connection that kind of helps with the transition process. And so, long answer to a simple question. But yeah, it's, I'm definitely happy. I'm happy with the transition. I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up as far as like what flavor of medicine, which is, part of the journey, but it'll be nice to finally have the vision is like, this is what I want to do and be working towards that.
Yeah, I imagine, especially coming from, a SOF background, like that is a very unique culture within another military culture. And just stepping out of that and just be with free-ranging humans has got to be definitely quite the trip.
It's different. Not just the free-ranging. So like some people have time to transition. They get out of the military, then they go back to school to knock out their prereqs, and then they apply to medical school. I was on active duty the first 6 months of medical school. So I was still transitioning during that process. I was like really still operational 3 weeks before I started school. And so, there was not a lot of time to transition and then throw a kid in the mix. Our first child, and there was a lot going on, and it has definitely been quite the adjustment. I'm the oldest in my class. Have been recently a PhD transitioned into our class. So I guess now I'm second oldest. Woo woo. But it's very different. Like I like my classmates. I do. But it is just a very different environment, and there's the growing pains associated with it. And it is nice to have a group of people who know where you're coming from and know what you're going through, whether they've already gone through it or they are in it with you. They're on that same hill with those hand grenade pins. Now it's just, number 2 pencils or, and I don't know. Places 240 shells. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of feelings, a lot of roses and a lot of thorns, a lot of empty Adderall bottles or, whatever else is at the top of the hill. I don't know.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Justin, for coming on, giving us a little bit of insight what one medical school is kind of like, and more specifically, SOFTSOM, how to get help and make your odds for success that much better.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. And appreciate it.
that's it for today's podcast. Make sure to go to our website, www.prolongedfieldcare.org. Check out our free downloads and a ton of other helpful information. Grab a bag of our fresh roasted PFC coffee, links in the description below, and stay on the bleeding edge of combat and austere medicine. This is Dennis for the PFC podcast. Out.